نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي واجعل لي وزيرا من أهلي. ربي يسر ولا تعسر وتمم بالخير وبك نستعين يا فتاح. ربي زدني. اللهم فقهنا في الدين. اللهم فقهنا في الدين. اللهم فقهنا في الدين. اللهم إني أسألك رضاك. اللهم إني أسألك رضاك. اللهم إني أسألك رضاك. آمين يا رحمن الرحيم. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Once again, Alhamdulillah, we were talking about the lessons from Surah Baqarah, and we completed until ayah 222 last time. So today we will be covering ayah 223 till 226, inshallah. So let's start with the word by word meaning. So we'll start from ayah 223. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
نساؤكم حرث لكم فأتوا حرثكم أنى شئتم وقدموا لأنفسكم واتقوا الله واعلموا أنكم ملاقوه وبشر المؤمنين.
Nisa'ukum. Nisa is ladies. Nisa'ukum. Kum refers to all of you. So Nisa'ukum, ladies of yours. So your ladies, which means technically speaking, your ladies, meaning your wives. So your wives, harthul lakum. Harth is a field, a land that you till for the crops and everything. So your field, for a farmer, his farmland. It's a field. Lakum, for all of you. Fa'tu, so come. Harthakum, to your tilth, to all of your fields. Anna shi'tum, from wherever, whenever you wish. Waqaddimu, and send forth. Qadam is like once we put one step in front of other step to send something ahead. So here it's in the meaning of waqaddimu, and send forth, I mean do good deeds, li anfusikum, for your own selves. Wattaqullaha, and be conscious of Allah, have taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, be fearful of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Wa'alamu, and know, from ilm, ayn, lam and mim. Wa'alamu, and know. So these are all commands. If you see at these words, the way these words are structured, qaddimu, that send forth, do this. Wattaqu, and fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Wa'alamu, and know that annakum, that you, mulaquhu. Who here refers to him going back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Mulaqu is to meet someone. So, and know that you will definitely do what? You will definitely meet him. You will definitely meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Be no doubt about this, that you will be meeting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَبَشِّرِ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ, and bashar, bushra is good news about something. Bashiril mu'minin, and give good news to the believers. So the time when the believers will meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that will be a good time for the believers, and give them that good news. So in this ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that your wives are a place of sowing of seed for you. They are your land for you. They're your tilth for you. So come to your place of cultivation however you wish, and put forth righteousness for yourselves. And fear Allah, and know that you will meet him, and give good tidings to the believers. We will inshallah go over this. There's a lot of lessons in this ayah. Inshallah we'll go over this in a little bit. Then ayah 224.
ولا تجعلوا الله عرضة لأيمانكم أن تبروا وتتقوا وتصلحوا بين الناس والله سميع عليم.
Wala, and do not. Taj'alu, do not make. Ja'ala, to make something. Wala taj'alu. La taj'alu is a negative command. Like we say, don't do this. So wala taj'alu, and do not make Allah, the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, urdatan, an excuse, something that you put forward. Something. So do not make the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala an excuse. Li aymanikum, in your ayman is for oaths that you make a promise or you make an oath by the name of Allah. So do not make the name of Allah an excuse in your oaths. And that tabarru, that you do good, watattahu, and be righteous, watuslihu, and make peace, bainan nas, watuslihu bainan nasi, and make peace between people. Wallahu Sami'un Alim, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is all hearing, all knowing. So what this ayah means is that do not make the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala an excuse against doing good or doing righteous things or making or fearing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that is taqwa, and against making peace amongst people. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is all hearing and knowing of what you do. And ayah 225.
لا يؤاخذكم الله باللغو في أيمانكم ولكن يؤاخذكم بما كسبت قلوبكم والله غفور حليم.
So لا يؤاخذكم, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not take all of you, he will not hold you all accountable, he will not take you task. So wala, sorry, not wa, la yu'akhidukumullahu, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not take all of you to task about what? Bil lagwi. About lagw is something that is unintentional and like that. Like, for example, some people swear a lot by the name of Allah, especially in Arab people, you'll see that it is like something on their tongues that they just say every second sentence, they just keep saying wallahi, wallahi, wallahi this, wallahi I went there, wallahi I did this, and wallahi my children are this and that. And so it's just on their tongues, and they don't really mean to make an oath that by Allah I swear that this happened, but it's just something that they do unintentionally. It is just on their tongue so much. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not hold you accountable for these unintentional things. Fi aymanikum, in your oaths. In your oaths, if you just say things which are lagh, which are like unintentional and carelessly spoken, let's say things like that, he will not hold you accountable for those things. Walakin, but yu'akhidukum, he will take you task, bima kasabat, for what? Kasabat, to earn, whatever have earned, qulubukum, your hearts. That meaning whatever you do intentionally, whatever your heart is in it, and you made an intentional oath or something, then Allah Ta'ala will hold you accountable for it. Wallahu ghafurun halim, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is oft forgiving, most forbearing. And then ayah 226. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
للذين يؤلون من نسائهم تربص 4 أشهر فإن فاءوا فإن الله غفور رحيم.
للذين, and for those who yu'luna, do ila, like they swear off. It's a practice, we'll talk about it a little later, that who swear off min nisaikum, from their wives. This means to swear not to have physical intimacy with their wives. Those people who swear off to that, okay, I will not have any relationship with you. So they say that to their wife, and they basically leave their wives in that sense without having any physical intimacy or a husband-wife relationship with them. Tarabbusu, there is a waiting period of arba'ati ashhur. Arba'a is for 4, and ashhur is months. So for those people who say these things to their wives, who leave their wives and do not have intimacy with their wives and do not have relationships with their wives, then for them there is a waiting period of 4 months. فَإِن فَاءُوا, then if fa'u, they return, فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ غَفُورٌ رَحِيمٌ, then indeed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is all forgiving and most merciful. So so for those people who swear not to have relationships with their wives, the waiting period is 4 months. And and this is related to a special practice called ila. We'll talk about it in a little bit more details in a little bit. But if they return to normal relationships, then indeed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is all forgiving and very merciful. 223 again, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Nisa'ukum harthul lakum, fa'atu harthakum anna shi'tum, that your wives are a tilth for you, so come to your tilth when you wish, or how you or from where you wish. There are 2 meanings of that. Waqaddimu, and send forth for yourself, good deeds, that send forth for yourself good deeds, and be conscious of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and know that you are going to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَبَشِّرِ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ, and give good news to the believer. So in this ayah, the relationship between a husband and a wife is explained in the light of Islam. What does Allah Ta'ala tell us about the relationship between a man and a wife? And this relationship is explained very beautifully here, and this ayah is many times misquoted. So it's important for us to understand what it actually means, so that if we come across people who are misquoting this ayah, we don't have to start an argument with people. We don't have to. Some people who are not ready to listen, they're just making. Some people like to make comments just to stir trouble. So we don't have to get involved in that. But then for people who are genuinely interested in knowing, then we should clarify for them, and for ourselves first of all, we should understand what Allah Subhanahu wa Taala is telling us here. So first thing here is that this ayah is talking about the physical relationship and intimacy, a sexual relationship and intercourse between a husband and his wife. And it is talked about as this relationship between a husband and a wife is shown as a purposeful relationship. It's not a relationship that is just meaningless and just for fun and just to hang out and everything. There is a purpose behind this relationship. And it also tells us that a woman is Islam tells us that a woman is precious. A woman is not just like anything that you have or anything. A woman's precious, and we also need to understand that women have an attraction. Allah Ta'ala has put an attraction in women, which is something that He has given us. There is an attraction, and that attraction is a natural thing that Allah Ta'ala has put in women, and so women, that makes the women even more precious. There is certain kind of attraction that is more in women than in men, obviously, because Allah Ta'ala has given us bodies like that. Allah Ta'ala has put some attraction in different parts of us, physically as well as emotionally. He's put some kinds of beauty in us, and that beauty makes us more precious. So for example, we have in our phone or something, we have a lot of important data. Like nowadays we do a lot of phone banking and stuff like that, a lot of things from our phone, and there's a lot of data that we don't want anybody to see. So if somebody just randomly asks us, can I see your PIN number? We won't give it to them. No, this is my personal number. The whole point of putting a PIN number is I don't want anybody to access it. So the whole, sometimes a lot of people, a lot of modern feminist movements, and some people who do overboard. Yes, there is a time and a place from feminism, and there's a kind of boundaries of feminism, let's say. But sometimes people who like to go overboard like to quote things from Islam and like to say, see how Islam oppresses women. No, Islam protects women, and Islam tells us and teaches us that women are precious, and they are not just just like we protect everything which is precious. That's why women are protected a bit extra. So all the commands of Islam, like whether it's hijab, whether it is not interacting unnecessarily and too much with non-mahram men, and not flirting, and not not engaging, or not being in situations, not trying to stay away from situations that might lead to harmful situations. Those are all things that Islam teaches. And also in the household, Islam teaches us how a woman is valued. And there are different places that we learn about through the Quran and the Hadith and Sunnah. We learn about the respect of a woman as a wife, a daughter, a sister, a mother. In different relationships, there are different kind of value and respect that is given to women. This ayah in particular is talking about the husband and a wife relationship. So the value of a woman in terms of being a wife. And if you look at the society around us, first of all, that what we see is in a lot of film, fiction, media, commercialization, advertisements, etc. A woman's almost portrayed like a rose, a beautiful rose, or like that butterflies come and go, and somebody comes and then stays with you for a while and goes and everything, and then there's a lot of like show off, and there's a lot of like even if anytime we look around in media, no matter which media, we look at film, we look at advertisement, we see this kind of image being portrayed. And images kind of have a bearing on human psychology. It makes an impact on our minds and our hearts. So here Allah Ta'ala is giving us an image that shows us a difference. So what is the difference between a farmer's farmland that he owns and that he works hard on, that is his prized possession, as compared to a garden where somebody goes just for fun and hanging out, and or a flower which just a person plucks easily, and then as soon as the flower starts to die out, they throw it away. It's not useful anymore. As opposed to that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala here is giving the metaphor of the women as a farmland, as a, for a farmer, just how precious a farmland is to a farmer. That is what and that is what a wife is to a husband. And there are just in this simile, that when a wife is being compared to a farmland and the husband compared to a farmer, there is a lot of there's a lot of lessons in this that we can get from the similarities in both of this. First of all, obviously, is the value of the, like we just said, the value of a farmland to a farmer. If you ask any person who's a farmer what is his most prized possession, it will be their farmland. And like people, if we know of such people, what we find is people die, people fight and die and even kill for their farmlands. They are so like for even like once, and for their land, they are so particular. They would make sure that nobody gets into the land. And so many things. If we even go through the history of mankind, we will see, and even today, anything about land, especially for a farmer, that land is super precious. The farmer who actually works on it, not who just owns it and rents it out or whatever. A farmer who owns his land and works on his land, that land is his livelihood. That land is his life. That's what makes his whole life. It supports his whole life. So it is a very important part of his life. And so similarly for a man, in Islam, when a man has a wife, he values her a lot, and he's supposed to value her. This is not like a returnable item. It's not a use and throw kind of an item. It's a wife and a husband, a wife to a husband. Yes, the husband benefits from a wife in different ways. Definitely, it happens. And but this is something to be valued. This is something to be, and here the particular connotation is the physical relationship between both of them, intimacy and sexual relationships, particularly the intercourse between both of them. Another thing between the farmer and the farmland and husband-wife similarity is that a farmer becomes happy when he looks at his field, when he puts a lot of effort and he loosens up the soil and he puts the seed, and when the crop comes, and when the farmer looks at that crop, it makes him happy. A farmer is happiest when he sees his land blooming. And so similarly, when a man looks at his wife with happiness and pleasure and contentment, and both of them interact with each other with mutual respect and love and care, then it gives happiness to both of their hearts. It's a natural happiness between a husband and a wife, that when they interact with each other in a positive way, when they support each other, when they have a good relationship, emotional and physical, then it brings them happiness. Another thing with the farm is, with time, the value increases. We know that about any farmland, when we have it, more often than not, and there'll be certain dips at certain times, but those dips get over after a certain period of time, and then the value of land is never, over a long period of time, the value of land never diminishes, right? There comes dips for some reasons, political reasons sometimes, and social reasons sometimes, or some other reasons. And after those dips, and those dips are the time when a lot of people buy lands and everything on a low prices, and then when the prices go up, and we know the cycle of how the value has. And similarly, the value of a wife increases over a period of time. As a person gets older, in the beginning, their relationship is just they're infatuated with each other. They love to spend time with each other. But as the marriage grows in time, their reliance on each other becomes more and more. Yes, physical aspect is there always, alhamdulillah, but more than that also, they rely on each other for comfort. They rely on each other for being there for each other. Even just the person being there gives you a kind of a support and everything, that he is with me or she is with me. Another thing is, a farmer is responsible. He doesn't just go and just do anything there. He's responsible. He does things with purpose there. And similarly, for a husband, for a Muslim husband, it is he's encouraged, and it is recommended for him to teach even deen to his wife, to help her to take care of her, to provide for her, it is a responsibility of the husband. And another thing is, a farmer is not shy to go to his field. It is his field. He owns this field. He goes there whenever he pleases and everything. Similarly, for a man and a wife, they don't have to set a certain period of time of day or a night when they can get together or anything. Whenever it works for both of them and they're both in that sort of mood, or they are together, then they can engage in intimacy. There's no time where they cannot engage in intimacy, except obviously when she's on her monthly cycle. And no one can blame him about this, as this is his field, his field. Similarly, a husband is allowed, and women are strongly discouraged, and we know this through several hadith, and in our Islamic tradition, this is very clear and explicitly said that for a wife, she should try her best to please her husband in physical terms. Obviously, when she can't for some reasons, but whenever the husband approaches her for intimacy, she should not refuse it, as long as she doesn't have a valid reason, that she should cater to his needs and everything. And the Prophet ﷺ told us in a hadith that going to your wife is an act of sadaqah. And the Sahaba were like confused, and they were like, Ya Rasulullah, when we go to our wives, then we go for our pleasure. Like we are, we are enjoying our time with them, and we're having a physical intimacy or a sexual relationship and everything. Then how is it an act of sadaqah? How are we getting a good deed out of it? And the Prophet ﷺ said that if you had not gone to your wife and you had gone to somebody else, would that not have been a sin? And a zina and everything? And they said yes. And they said yes, but you don't do that, and you go to someone that Allah Ta'ala has permitted for you, that you have a bond of matrimony with. So by engaging in physical intimacy with your husband or with your wife, you're doing an act of sadaqah, an act of and a good deed, and that good deed is written for you. And even some of the scholars, subhanAllah, they said that a physical intimacy that produces a child, like Imam Bukhari or Imam, any Imam of, so one of our scholars has said that, I don't recall the name, but one of the scholars said that if that kind of sexual relationship produces a child like Imam Bukhari, who does so much for the deen, then that evening or that hour of sexual relationship is worth much more than many, many, many years of continuous ibadah, right? So the thing is that there are rewards for us, whether it produces a child or not, and whatever the child does or not, that's in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But when we approach our husbands, or whenever our husbands approach us and we fulfill their needs, then it is an act of sadaqah. And it is, subhanAllah, this is so revolutionary in a sense that in many traditions, even the relationship between a husband and a wife, they say as you grow older, it's like a lot of traditions put a lot of that you become purer, that you stay away from your husband, your relationship with your husband, or between husband and wife, as the age becomes a bit more platonic and they don't have physical intimacy anymore. But Islam does not teach that at any age that you get to monasticism. No, your relationship with, yes, obviously your physical stamina goes down, and yes, you're not engaging in the same kind of intimacy or same frequency of intimacy as when you were younger. But as you get older, you still have whatever works for both of you, then you still have that frequency or that time of intimacy, and that is valued. It doesn't ever, there's no time when, okay, you're above it or anything. The Prophet ﷺ married, and he had relationships, and he told, and through his example, he showed us that this is, and he taught us through various hadith that Allah Ta'ala has forbidden things, and we don't go towards things which are forbidden, but there are things that he has allowed and that he has made for us, which are halal and which are permissible and which have goodness in it for them. And having relationships within the bounds of matrimony, within a husband and between a husband and a wife, are the act of that they get rewards for us. So even when a wife is full, she's not, maybe she's not in the mood or something, or she's a little bit tired or something, but she freshens herself up because her husband's going to come home, and then she puts on a little bit of perfume, or she puts on a little bit of makeup and everything, or she spends the even if they don't engage in the whole act, just being just romancing with him, or just um, uh, it includes everything, right? The whole, not just the whole act or the final act of intercourse, but anything that's related before that, whatever you do to please your husband in a physical sense, that's all included as an act of ibadah, and we can always um, take care of that. So there's no shyness in this, and Islam is very clear in that there is no shyness in this, and they can come anytime to each other. It is allowed. Another thing is that from a farmland, a farmer gets results, like the he gets produce that comes from it, and obviously that's an obvious thing that wives bear children. It's only the women that can bear children. Men cannot bear children. This is one one beautiful thing that Allah Ta'ala has blessed women with. Yes, we go through periods and everything to be able to bear children, and this is a mechanism through which our body prepares itself for having children. But and it is a lot of hurt, and it is there is suffering in that too. But the benefit is that we are able to bear children, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us that thing, and through women we get children. And the Prophet ﷺ said that you should have children, and he encouraged people to have more and more children, because he said to the effect that on the day of judgment he will be happy with the numbers of people in his ummah. So to bear children who will be Muslim is a recommended thing, and because you've given birth to a Muslim child, right? So you are, or a child that believes in Islam, even if it is later on in life, then that is something that is a good deed in Islam, and it is not something. So sterilization, permanent sterilization, is not allowed in Islam. Yes, some people, because of medical reasons or because of whatever personal reasons, if some people feel that right now is not the right time for them to have children, or they want to have certain amount of gap between two children, then there is a difference of opinion about temporary means of birth control and things like that. But permanent means or sterilization is haram in Islam. So we don't do that, because having children is something which is encouraged in Islam. And of course, whatever has happened and anything that we learn, if anybody has done something before learning about it and they did not know about it, then Allah Ta'ala, we have hopes from Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala that He is the most forgiving and very merciful, because we did something when we did not know about it. Another thing between the farmer and his field is that he's very purposeful with his field. He doesn't go to his field just to stroll around and just like to to just hang around there for no reason or something. He works there. There's a purpose for everything, right? So similarly, a man with his wife is purposeful, and similarly, a wife with her husband, she's purposeful. She's not there just to like, okay, what can you do for me? Okay, can you go and shop this for me? Can you bring this for me? And that's we do make sometimes demands, and that's okay. But that's not the only reason that I just need a husband so that he can carry my shopping bags when I'm shopping, or I just need a husband. And we all know examples of all kinds. We've seen enough people of different kinds of attitudes, so we know what it means by not to fall into that trap, and value and respect each other. Another thing is that when a farmer goes to a field, a farmer doesn't just put the seed right away. He takes his time, and he tills the soil, and he makes it soft, and he takes care of it. He de-weeds and everything, and then he puts the seed. Similarly, a man is encouraged to, and there's a hadith to the effect of that, don't just come to your wife suddenly and everything, like in terms of explaining in a sexual relationship, that don't just come to your wife like this. Be loving and kind and merciful like that. And what it means is that do not. So basically, it refers to foreplay, that women need to be loved and romanced a little bit before they feel inclined to, and that's the nature of women. Men feel. Allah Ta'ala has made men and women very differently. And one of the examples that one of the sheikh gave in a workshop in which they talk about the physical intimacy about a man and a wife is that you can compare a man to a microwave oven and a woman to a conventional oven. So like the conventional oven takes time to heat up, right? So it needs that pre-warming stage. It needs to heat up. Whereas a man, Allah Ta'ala had made a man such that you switch on and he's ready to go. Like he's like, a man can be quickly ready for physical intimacy. They're they're very they don't need so much of pre thing, right? So, and for a women to know what, and also it's important for women to know what they need as well. That because if sometimes there has some husbands are not very aware of it, then we should create ways to get what we want, right? Like and smartly, without any blame or anything, but generally we should be smart about what we want and how we want it. So this garden, this crop, this farmland that he has, it's not a jungle, it's his own very garden. So he takes care of it and everything. And it tells us about this husband-wife relationship that aside from being a legal relationship, yes, a nikah in Islam is a legal relationship, but it is also a relationship of the heart, that you love each other and you care for each other and you have a physical intimacy with each other. And also another thing is that in a field, you prepare and seed and harvest at the right time. There's a time to harvest. You cannot harvest until the plant grows and you have seed and everything. There's a process to be followed, and you cannot do things at the wrong time. You have to harvest the crop. A farmer harvests the crop at the right time to get the right produce. And if he doesn't do it at the right time, then obviously he will ruin everything. So similarly in Islam, we know that we are not allowed. There are only two things which are not allowed. One is to have physical intimacy while a woman is on her monthly period. While she's on her monthly cycle, then it is then she's already going through a lot of hurt, and in her different areas of her body, and it is not allowed for a man to make excessive demands on her at that time. Yes, you could people could engage in other, like we talked about before last time, that the husband and wife could engage in other forms of intimacy, but like romance and flirting or with words or with hugging and kissing and all that stuff is all okay, but they should not engage in intercourse per se, so not during their monthly cycle. And anna ashittum, it has two meanings: when you want and how you want. So go to your wives when you want and how you want. So this indicates that this relationship has a freedom and there's a frankness in this relationship of intimacy, and this is the hallmark of a man-woman relationship. There's a freedom and a frankness in it. You can talk to your husband about things and about your physical body, about your things that you would not talk to anybody else, not even your mom or your friends or anybody. But and vice versa. Your husband can, like, if he has certain needs and supposing his legs are aching or something, then you can easily press his legs or something, and you can easily or other parts of his body, whatever things going on, we can take care of each other like nobody else can. So there's a freedom and a frankness in this relationship. But along with this freedom and frankness, there's also a responsibility, the restraint and caution. And one thing is that, like we said, that there is no intimacy, intercourse during the monthly cycle. Another thing is that some people ask about this, that and use this phrase to say that go to them however you wish. And some people quote a lot of unnatural acts and say that doesn't it mean that we can do whatever we want? So people talk about oral and anal and homosexuality and things like that. But the point is, ask for those people, if they only ask themselves before they even ask any scholar, they ask their own heart, that every organ that Allah Ta'ala has given us has a specific purpose. We don't ever say that instead of putting the food in my mouth, can I put it in my ear, right? So we understand that we are human beings, we are on our fitra, and we understand that Allah Ta'ala has given different parts of our body for different purposes, right? And for men also, that they should not force their or ask for their wives to engage with them in a manner that even animals don't do. That is not natural, right? So there is a part of body meant for a certain thing, and only that part should be used for that thing. So here what it means is, so what does it mean? If it does not mean that it's not giving sanction for unnatural things, what it means is you can come to your wife in different positions, right? So you can, there's an incident behind this, that it is reported that Jabir said that the Jews at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, in Medina, the Jews used to say that if a man approaches his wife from the rear, from behind, then she will give birth to a child with squint. right? So they say that. And we know that the people of Medina before, when it was Yathrib, and the people they did not have any book. They did not have any. The people who were idol worshippers, they did not understand anything, and they used to look up to Jews as people of the book. They have a book. They have a civilization. They have a divine revelation. So they used to look up as those as people of knowledge, and they would say that their practices are better, right? So they used to look up to these people. But obviously, as Islam came, when Prophet ﷺ came, then they were like, okay, now we have, and so that's why they so readily accepted Islam as well, because they were people of Yathrib. They were used to, they had heard about so much about people of the book. They had heard so much about Judaism and Christianity before. So when the concept of prophethood and everything came, when they came in touch with Islam, they understood it right away that this is the truth, and they accepted it. So but not the commands, as opposed to now when we have the whole Quran and the Sunnah with us. At that time, things were still coming down. Revelation was still coming down. So when these commands had not come, so the Sahabas came to the Prophet ﷺ and asked that, that's what the Jews say, that if you approach your wife from the rear, so basically what this means is that she is on her tummy, she's like on her, she's like that, and the person comes from behind and enters her, right? So this is the reference to that, and they say that she will give birth to a squint. So they didn't. So the Jews forbade that. That okay, this should not be done. And so they came to the Prophet ﷺ, and the Prophet ﷺ said that, told them that no, it is that you could basically engage in whatever bodily position you like, as long as you use the right place of. You don't do it at the wrong place. So of course, if you look at this hadith, even when the Jews are saying that if a man approaches for his wife from the rear, she will give birth, and she will only give birth, as in she will only get pregnant, if things have happened at the right organs, like the right organs have been used, and things have happened in a natural course. Only the position has been different. So the Prophet ﷺ told them that any position is fine. So just like a field, a farmer can till his field, can like go to his field in whichever way he wants. Similarly, a man and a wife can engage in whatever position works for both of them, and they could experiment and they could use whatever different positions. That's totally fine, no harm in that. Only thing is that you use the right organs, that you don't use unnatural ways, or so obviously anal and homosexuality and all these things are completely haram. They're not allowed at all. We learn about those in other places on hadith as well, that a man is cursed who does what the people of Lut alayhi salam did, right? So whatever the people of Lut alayhi salam did, people at the time of Lut alayhi salam, they did, those people are cursed. And if a man tries to do that with his wife, then he's cursed as well, right? Because he's trying to do something which is not permissible. And do good for yourself, send good for yourself. Meaning, when you engage in a relationship between a husband and a wife, then this is a means for you to earn goodness. Don't spoil it. Like, send good things. When you care for each other, when you do good things for each other, then do good things for yourself. Another connotation here is that some scholars have said is that sometimes what happens to farmers is they are so lost in their field and farmland that they're oblivious to other parts of their life, like they ignore their families, or they ignore their other responsibilities, or sometimes they miss their prayer or whatever. So what here it refers to is, yes, there's a lot of attraction between a husband and a wife, and especially in the first few years of marriage, there's a lot of attraction, and everybody just wants to spend a lot of time. The husband and wife just want to spend a lot of time together all the time. And that's okay. That's a phase of, like we call it the honeymoon phase, that yes, they do. But while you're doing that, don't neglect other aspects of your life. That yes, this is very important, and yes, this is a relationship that becomes very, very important for every person. But in light of this relationship, don't forget your other relationships. Don't forget your other responsibilities, and especially your responsibilities towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Don't engage in relationship at a time, like yes, you can go anytime and do whatever, like you can engage in a relationship anytime and anyhow. But if obviously you will not have enough time, and there's a time of salah, which is finishing, and then if you engage in something right now, you won't be able to get, you won't be able to do ghusl and pray, and you will lose your time of prayer. Then obviously you have to be conscious of that you need enough time, right? So the thing is, yes, this is very important, but don't get so lost in it that you this is not the sole purpose of life. The love and lust and romance is not the sole purpose of life. Yes, this is an important part, but do it to earn goodness. Yes, earn goodness, take care of each other and everything, and don't get lost in it. Just keep it balanced, right? And Allah Ta'ala reminds believers that we have to return to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, and He will tell us what we do. And also with this, if we think of the field, with the help of a field, a farmer provides for his future financial needs, right? Like when he's working on his farm and everything, and he knows he'll get the crop 6 months from now or everything, but he's preparing for his future financial needs, and he's preparing now. He's putting a lot of hard work for the future. Similarly, with the help of the relationship between husband and wife, a man would provide for the future of the human race. The more children would be produced, and those children, another thing is, we don't just bear children and forget about them. Then obviously we have to do tarbiyah of our children. We have to, depending on whatever our children, whatever best we can do for our children, and then we have to give them good knowledge. Whatever we can, we try to bring them closer to Allah Subhanahu wa Taala. We try to do their tarbiyah, and we don't stop ourselves from good deeds and everything. And the Prophet ﷺ, we know that he used to love Aisha a lot, but sometimes he would spend time in Jannatul Baqi, which is the graveyard where a lot of Muslims were buried, and he used to spend time there just so that he doesn't forget Akhirah in her love, that he doesn't forget that just because he loves her so much, then that he did not want to that love to make him forget the Akhirah. So sometimes he would just go to the graveyard and go there just to remind himself of the Akhirah, right? And different things work for different people. So we have to find our own ideal balances. And Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala has given us this ideal situation, and He's told us that give good news to the believers. Because what do the believers do? They send good deeds, they do good deeds even within this relationship, and keeping a balance with this relationship, that they take care of other things too, and they fear Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. Definitely in the rights of Allah, in the rights of husband and wife for each other. Another thing is for the wives, it's that for a husband, yes, he has to provide for his wife, he has to take care of his wife and everything, but also when he goes to his farm, he feels happy. So for women as well, there is a responsibility that give your husband, for us, and may Allah Ta'ala forgive all of us, each one of us, may Allah Ta'ala forgive us, that we should be a means of sukoon, a means that when our husbands look at us, they feel happy, when they feel like relaxed, and if they are full of the whole days like tensions and this and that, they should relax. And same goes for us, that when we look at him, that we should feel that kind of that they should also take care of us in that sense. And both the husband and wife can only behave like this with each other, because it is not possible when people stay with each other, it's not possible that there won't be any disagreements. There will definitely be disagreements. There will definitely be friction of differences of opinion. There'll be friction. There'll be things that we don't like about each other. There'll be our pet peeves. We will push each other's buttons sometimes. We will irritate each other sometimes, and we will sometimes knowingly, sometimes unknowingly. But to put that extra effort, despite even when you're feeling irritated, to put that extra effort, you cannot put it unless you do it for the sake of Allah, unless you remember that Allah Ta'ala has asked you for it, unless you know that fear Allah, and that you know that you're meeting Him, right? That you fear Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. Because another thing is that it's so beautiful that some people, it is said in our tradition that marriage is like a sadaqah. Right. So what happens in sadaqah is, when we give sadaqah, what happens? We give certain amount of money, and we're not getting anything in return, but we know that our return has now gone safe with Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, and we will get the return. Right. So we are expecting that return, if not in this world, and even if it in this world, we are expecting definitely a return in akhirah for it, because we give sadaqah for the sake of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. We have put it in our akhirah account. Similarly, when we do something for the sake of our marriages, sometimes, and different people have different personalities, sometimes we'll not see the results. Some women will be very patient. And we've seen, and we know that in around the world we see that a lot of women, they're so patient and they do so much hard work, they do so much good work for their husband, their families and everything, but they are not treated well still, despite years of hard work and everything. When they need something, then nobody's there for them, even though they have literally gone out of their way to help or be there for everybody else. And that happens. It's a reality of this life. It happens. But when a woman does something for the sake of Allah, yes, I'm doing it for my husband, but I'm remembering that my reward is with Allah. This is a sadaqah. I might not see. So to the person that I have sent sadaqah, they might not even know me, but so let alone thanking me or whatever. But that money reached them, it benefited them, and my reward for this is with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So marriage is like a sadaqah in the sense sometimes we keep doing stuff and we don't see it. Sometimes we will see the results in this life and we will see people who are thankful and everything. Sometimes we will not see the results. And that is still okay because our results are there with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He knows what we have done. He knows how hard it was to smile when we were super irritated. And yet we smiled for the sake of keeping peace in the house. Or when we felt like screaming and shouting and we were like, no, let me just go and do wudu instead so that I don't shout. Or we were so irritated or we were so angry, but we didn't take that anger out, and we said, okay, let me just go for a walk instead. Or or I was very hurt, or I would just like when somebody was very hurt and they was like, okay, let me just put on the shower and just go in the shower and come back fresh. And like, even if I need to cry, I'll cry in the shower, but not let anybody know that I was crying. So we all know about all these situations, but then all these things that a woman does, Allah Ta'ala knows them. And He is the one who is noticing every little effort that everybody is doing for the sake of their marriages. Another thing is that, especially in South Asian, Indian, Pakistani, that culture, and even at many other places, it is very easy for men to exploit or take advantage of or get away with not behaving in their best with their wives. And it is very easy in the social setting, it's very easy for them to get away with it and not be reprimanded by the society if they don't behave in the best way towards their wives or their other halves. But Allah Ta'ala says that the way you are behaving with your wife, remember to have taqwa, because if you fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you will not be unjust. You cannot be unjust to your women because they are supposed to be somebody you care for. You don't just take advantage of them. So fear Allah Ta'ala and know that you will be meeting Him, right? And know that this that you are going to meet Him, this is a dire warning. This is a warning for people who are being unjust in their relationships, but at the same time, it is a good news for the believers who restrain themselves, who are trying to do good by their other halves. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that do not take the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as an excuse in your oath that you do good. Don't use the oath to stop yourselves from doing good. So from here, indirectly, and again, we are discussing a lot of topics related to women in this part of Surah Baqarah. And from the next ayah, indirectly, the topic of divorce is starting. Yes, we've talked about marriage, and then divorce is also a reality of life. So from the next ayah, it indirectly starting, and then we will go into the topic next week, inshallah, in more detail. But before we reach to the ayah of Ila and everything in a couple of ayat, here the subject of oath is being introduced, and the importance of taking an oath in the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is explained, that and everything. And for this ayah, there's also an incident that is quoted that Abdullah ibn Rawaha, he said that he was angry with his companion Bishr ibn an-Nu'man, and he said, I swear by Allah that I will not do so. That is, I will not speak to Bishr ibn an-Nu'man, and it is not possible for me except to be honest with my oath. Basically, what he was saying is he was upset with his companion. He was like, okay, from now on, I swear by Allah, I'm not going to talk to you now from now on. Like, I don't want to have any relationship with you. I'm so upset with you. I'm not going to have anything with you. And then, so basically he's saying that I'm not going to speak to you ever again. And I swear by Allah that I will never speak to you again. And now that I've taken an oath, it is not possible for me except to be honest with my oath. and keep this oath. So now I cannot talk to him. So when basically we can understand, it's not said in that hadith, but we can imagine obviously with that two people are upset with each other, one person's not talking to each other, and said he's taken oath that by Allah I'm not going to speak to you again. And now that the anger has subsided after some time, and people are going to him and saying that, you know what, like guys are such good friends and everything, and yes, something happened, and you were upset with each other and everything, and you were angry, it's understandable, but the time has passed and everything, so now forgive each other, and like you should go and speak to each other and sort it out. And we know you miss him and he misses you as well, so you guys are good friends, why not patch it up together? So then he's saying that I've taken an oath, and now by the name of Allah, and then I cannot go back on it and everything. So basically here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us he's stopping people from swearing in Allah's name and making it an excuse not to do good deeds. So having good relationships with your companions and everything is a good deed. So don't use the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to do this. And sometimes people take these oaths, even sometimes people say things in anger against each other. Even today people say that, and they stop themselves from doing good. Like for example, somebody let's say somebody tried to get two people married, like they were the people, they knew a boy from one family, they knew a girl from another family, and marriage is a sunnah, it's good to have people get married, and they facilitated that, they helped them get married or something, and then something didn't work out in that marriage or something, and people's like you didn't get a good match for us, and people said some bad things, which happens unfortunately in our societies. So and then this person's like, I was going to go do good, and they're telling me like this, forget it, from now on I swear I'm not going to help anybody get married, this is not worth anything, I put all my time and everything, and then this is how people repay me, I'm not going to do anything. No, swearing like that is not allowed. So what even if we don't get the good result or something happens, don't stop. What Allah Ta'ala is telling us in this thing is, just because something happened or whatever, things didn't go quite right, don't, according to your liking, then don't stop yourself from good things just because something didn't turn out in a way. And good things here, three things are mentioned here. Tabarru is referring to bir, and we learned in Ayatul Bir different kinds of goodness. We talked about taking care of parents and relatives and people who are in need and orphans, etc. So all those kind of good we've learned about bir in Ayatul Bir, a lot of good deeds. And then wattaqu, and tattaqu refers to taqwa, so our obligations to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So goodness, in these three terms, all kinds of goodness are included. First is tabarru, which is bir. Second, which is our obligations towards our parents and needy people and orphans and relatives and other individuals, basically of all our relationships of different kinds. So good towards them. Wattaqu, taqwa, is our obligations towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the third kind of goodness is watuslihu bainan nas, and to make peace between people. So one of the very good deeds in society, in our religion, is to make peace between two people. Two people have got a little bit of friction, and that's only one time where even white lies are allowed. What does that mean? That supposing two people, two brothers are not speaking to each other, they were upset with each other, and they got into an argument or something, and they're not talking to each other at all. And it's like they're just not ready to see each other's face or whatever, but they're brothers. And so it is permissible for one person to go to one brother and say, you know what, this person was mentioning that he's so sorry that he fought with you, and you know what, I think he really misses you and everything. And then go to the other person and says the same thing, and then basically they get together. And so that's the whole point, right? To say, although they did not mention that to you, but then you try to get them together. So that is allowed. To make peace between people is allowed. And obviously you're not lying in that sense, but you are trying to get people together, and even otherwise to help to remove misunderstandings, or to remove things which can create a friction or separate people. Unity is very, very, very important in our religion, and we should try our best to unite people and not to disunite people. Of course, there are some principles on which we don't touch, like yes, we stand firm on Tawheed, but we try to keep people united. We don't try to separate people, and to bring peace amongst people who are not speaking or who've had a disagreement is a very big deal and a good deal in Islam. And even this says this, that we shouldn't take, first of all, any oath in for a Muslim. We don't take any oath in anybody's name except Allah, first of all. And a Muslim is not allowed to take any oath by anything. Like, we don't say that I swear by, some people are in the habit of saying, I swear by my parents, I swear by my children, I swear by my work, I swear by this. That is not allowed, first of all. If a Muslim needs to swear, he should swear by Allah alone, Allah's name alone. But even that, we should not do too much. It's not encouraged. And definitely not do it, take that oath. First of all, you should not take an oath by anybody else. The second thing is, if you take an oath, if you need to take an oath for some reason, then you take an oath only by the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Thirdly, even that, don't do it too much, and don't do it especially to stop yourself from good, right? And if somebody has taken an oath, which was, suppose, for example, like the Sahaba, Abdullah ibn Rawaha, he had taken an oath, and then now, if somebody has taken an oath in the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that oath was for something that they should not have stopped themselves from, which was some kind of a goodness, then they have to break that oath and they have to pay kafara. And what is the kafara for breaking an oath? It is the fasting for 3 days, or it is feeding 10 people, or freeing of 1 slave. Obviously, we don't have slavery in our times, but feeding 10 people and or fasting for 3 days is the kafara that we need to pay for making an oath that we need to break. Now that okay, so we should avoid them in the first place. But if we need to break an oath, then that is what we do. And there is another incident that happened at the time of the Sahabas, at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, was the incident of when some people made a lot of scandal about one of the wives of the Prophet ﷺ, Aisha radhiyallahu anha, and it was a very indecent kind of scandal that was created, and it hurt the Prophet ﷺ and his family, everyone, a lot. And we will discuss that incident at some point in more detail. But basically what happened was that in that scandal and backbiting and spreading that scandal, a lot of people were involved, and one of the people that was involved was Miftah, who was a distant cousin of Abu Bakr. And who was Abu Bakr radhiyallahu anhu? He was the father of Aisha, right? So he was the father, and for him, Aisha is his daughter, and somebody is making scandals and rumors about the character of his daughter. And amongst those people who were spreading the scandal is one of the person called Miftah, who's his distant cousin. And Abu Bakr was the one who financially took care. Miftah was a very poor person, and did not have much means and everything. And Abu Bakr was the one who used to take care of all the expenses of Miftah. He used to basically give them, let's say, the monthly allowance or whatever. He used to take care of the financial needs of Miftah. And this is the same person whom Abu Bakr is supporting this person financially for all his needs. And now the same person is spreading rumors against, is a part of many people who are spreading rumors about his own daughter. And this made, obviously, Abu Bakr very, very angry. And any of us, if we would get out of control if somebody does that. But subhanAllah, that's Abu Bakr. And the only way he retaliated was he took an oath that, okay, I'm not going to give him anymore. Like, I'm not going to send him any more things anymore, right? That's the only thing he did. He did not go beat him up. He did not, like, go shout at him. He did not do anything. He just took an oath by Allah that I'm not going to give him anymore. I'm not going to support him anymore. And then when he did that, the ayah of Surah Nur was revealed that yes, you're angry with, to the effect of that, yes, you're angry with some people, but wouldn't you like it that, basically to the effect of that you forgive someone so that Allah Ta'ala will forgive you, right? And then he's like, khalas, and he said, okay, I forgive Miftah. And when he heard this ayah, he forgave Miftah, and in fact, he doubled his allowance. So whatever he used to give him before, he made it double. And Abu Bakr also paid a kafara for breaking his oath. So he had taken an oath that I will not give money to allowance to Miftah anymore. I will not support Miftah financially anymore because he did this and he hurt my whole family so much. But after that ayah was revealed, and after listening to that ayah, not only did he reinstate that allowance that he used to give, he doubled it. And also, on the other hand, because he had taken an oath in the name of Allah and he was breaking that oath now, that he also paid the kafara for breaking the oath. Subhanallah. And um, so if anybody has ever taken an oath to stop themselves from any good deed, then we should break it right away. And we should, if we have taken an oath in the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then we should also pay a kafara on it. Right? And what does taking an oath means? Taking an oath means that we have made Allah Ta'ala a witness on this, that I make witness, I make Allah Ta'ala a witness that I will do this, so and so. Right? And for a wrong thing, we should not make Allah Ta'ala our witness. So we shouldn't use Allah Ta'ala's name to oppose his teachings. That's obviously implied that Allah Ta'ala does not need anything from us. He does not need us to do any good deeds or have taqwa or to maintain peace amongst people or do nafil sadaqah or anything else. He doesn't need anything. But what we do, we should do it with thankfulness towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? It is for our own selves, and we are doing it for the sake of thanking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, showing our gratitude towards him. And so we should not forget that Allah Ta'ala is the one who hears and he sees anything. He knows what is in our heart. So we should not make a mockery of his sacred name, because if anybody makes a mockery of his name and uses Allah Ta'ala's name to do an evil deed or to stop themselves from goodness, then knowingly, then Allah Ta'ala knows it and that person will be held accountable for it. May Allah Ta'ala not make us of them. And then in the next ayah, Allah Ta'ala tells us, subhanAllah, how much he loves us, that some people have this habit of just using the term wallahi, and Allah Ta'ala tells us right away that, oh believers, who you are, if you are one of those who do this, then don't worry. You will not be caught for this. You're not accountable for this, right? SubhanAllah. Allah Ta'ala even takes care of our, like Allah Ta'ala knows that a believer, as soon as they hear this, they will get scared that, Ya Allah, I say that a lot, what will happen to me? Right? And Allah Ta'ala tells us right away that if somebody does it out of habit and without any intention, then it's okay, don't worry about it. He won't catch you in that case. And that is such a big rahmah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If we can just imagine, he would be catching us on everything that we said unintentionally, we would be in so much trouble. May Allah Ta'ala forgive all of us. And another thing that we learn is that we will be caught for actually the oaths that we make, because it says later on that, and whatever oaths that we do make intentionally, which our hearts are in it, then we will be asked for it. And there are three kinds of oaths that anybody takes. One is love, which is out of habit, which is mentioned as you won't be caught for it. So there's, if somebody makes an oath just out of habit, wallahi this, wallahi I did this, wallahi I won there, wallahi this happened, then there's no kafara for it. It is not preferred, but you're not going to be held accountable for it, and you won't have to pay any kafara for it. If somebody does an oath with intention, but then it was a true oath at that time, they meant it at that time, but they realized that they found something better than whatever they did oath, they could do something better by not following that oath, anything that will be closer to the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then they should break that oath, although they're accountable for it, and that's why when they're breaking it, they should pay a kafara for it. And the third kind of oath is an oath which is a lie, which a person does not really mean. They're just using the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to create an oath. That is obviously a big sin. To use the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as a means to lie or to take an oath on something incorrect, that is a big sin, and we should not be doing that. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says here, Wallahu ghafurun halim, that one is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is so kind that he won't hold you responsible for what you did not attend, but he also has hilm. Hilm means that he's very forbearing. He has so much like patience with you that he doesn't catch you right away. So many of us, he has so much like bardasht, so much like like he lets so many people. He's al-qadir, right? He could do anything. Anybody who does injustice, and the person who have been oppressed, when they call out to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, all those prayers are reaching Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If he wants, he can catch the oppressors, like a lightning could strike somebody who said anything mean to their wife, a lightning strikes and the person gets burnt right away. It could happen, but Allah ta'ala gives people time, and that is his forbearingness. He is halim. He is the most forbearing, the most patient with people, and giving them more and more time that okay, come back, come back, come back, and he's ready to forgive, and he's giving them time. That, like, if we look at these two words together, that he is, first of all, he's Ghafur, he's all forgiving. Secondly, he's so forgiving, but at the same time, he's not like, he's not saying that okay, come now, then you'll be forgiven, and then not tomorrow. No, he's giving us time after time until somebody sees the angel of death, the door to forgiveness is open, or the signs of day of judgment have started, the sun has risen from west instead of the east, then the doors of forgiveness have closed. Until then, the doors of forgiveness are open. And it is so much of Allah's rahmah with us that sometimes we see so much zulm, so much oppression happening in this world, whether it's on a family level, whether it's at a social level, it's a political level, and we see so much. All of us know and see so much happening all around us. And sometimes by looking at us, our blood boils. It's like, how can people do this? Can we imagine, like, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala seeing this, and yet He's giving these people who are oppressing others still time. There's still time. Come back, come back. There's still time. So much patience Allah Ta'ala has with these people, and so much time He's giving to all of us. And even for ourselves, if we think, if I think of all the mistakes that I have done in my life, and Allah Ta'ala still gave me time. Allah Ta'ala still gave me time to return. He helped me change, and He gave me that time. If He would have caught me at the time when I made mistakes, then I did not have that kind of patience with myself. People around me did not have that kind of patience with me, but Allah Ta'ala had patience with me. And He could have caught me, and but He doesn't catch people like this, right? And another thing that scholars take from here is that yes, we won't be accountable for our unintentional oaths, but the use of the word lahu is something that is meaningless, that is that doesn't have a purpose for it. So describing these oaths by this word as vain clearly suggests that people who are serious and upright, they should also avoid these. These are also not something very, this is not something very recommended. Like if somebody is in a habit of it, it's another thing. They should try a little bit and break out of that habit. And if you're not in the habit, don't get into that habit. Try to stay away from it, because one of the prominent characteristics of sober and decent people that is mentioned in the Quran is that they avoid anything that is frivolous. Anything that is meaningless, they try to avoid it. That is not one of something that that suits a person who's aiming for higher goal. Then in the next ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us about the practice of ilah, that for those who swear not to have. Now, after telling us a little bit about the importance of oath and taking an oath in the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then after telling us about the importance of a husband-wife relationship, now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us about some people who take an oath of not having a relationship with their wife. And this practice is called ilah. And in the time of Jahiliyyah, that is in the time before Islam came, Sayyid ibn al-Musayyib, he relates that ilah of the people of Jahiliyyah was an infliction. So what happened is, if a man did not want his wife anymore, like he doesn't feel that attracted to her anymore, or he doesn't want to take care of her anymore, or whatever, he's had his good time with her maybe for 1 year, 2 years, whatever, and then now he's like, he doesn't want her like that anymore too much. So but at the same time, he doesn't want somebody else to marry her. So what he would do is, he would swear that I will never go near her, and he would leave her like that. So what is her condition now? Neither is she widowed, nor is she divorced, nor is she married. So she's like hanging in between, right? So it's a kind of an affliction on that woman, if we think about it. That so the people would do that, and they would continue doing that, right? But what did Islam do is that you cannot do this for an indefinite period. If something happens, if you go away, and another report, Ibn Abbas, he reports that the ilah of the people of Jahiliyyah, they used to do this sometimes for more. Sometimes they would do it for 1 year, sometimes for 2 years, sometimes for even more. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala restricted this time period to 4 months. And those whose ilah was less than 4 months, it won't be considered ilah. Ilah, what happened was that a person would say that, okay, I'm really upset with you, and I swear. So ilah means swearing with the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that you will not be intimate with your wife, and telling her that I'm angry with you and I'm not going to be intimate with you anymore, right? So the two parts to it, that you are swearing that you won't be intimate with her, and it is with the purpose of that you're angry with her, right? That would be ila. And so that's what they would do. But what this verse tells is, if you do that, then you have a limit of 4 months. Within the 4 months, either you come back to her, that you return to her, and you give her all her rights. It is your, just as a man has a right upon a wife, a woman also has needs of intimacy, and she also has physical needs and everything. It is not just men, women have those needs too. And if you are angry, yes, it happens, things happen between. And Islam does not encourage people to just leave their marital relationship, or just end their relationships at the first chance or something. But if something's come to that level, that you are, or a man is super annoyed with his wife, or there's something that has happened or whatever, and you need that time to cool off, and you just like cannot be with each other or whatever, and yes, you're very angry, then if you do that, first of all, don't do it. But if you do it, then you have a time period of 4 months now. So if you have, within 4 months, you need to come back to her, and whenever you cool down, 10 days, 15 days, 20 days, 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 3.5 months, you have your time period until 4 months. You cannot keep her hanging for more than 4 months. You cannot, either you stay with her or you leave her, then let her marry somebody else. That's fine. She has her own rights. And if you cannot give her those rights, you don't feel that you can fulfill her rights, then let her go and let her marry somebody else. And subhanAllah, at the time of Islam, when people used to follow Islam properly, it was very easy for women to remarry and everything. It wasn't that hard because a woman has needs too, right? And so she needs to feel loved, and not just physical in terms of just intimacy or everything, but she needs to feel loved, and she needs to feel cherished, and she needs everything, the whole package about that, and she needs to feel valued and everything. And if you cannot do that, if you've taken an oath, then and this obviously does not include when there is medical reasons, and when there, so it doesn't mean that if a husband and wife do not have physical intimacy for 4 months, it counts as ila. No, ila is specifically when it is an oath and there's an anger involved, when it is for medical reasons, or for a mutual thing, that or the husband is in another country, or the wife is in another country for some period of time, and or they're not able to see each other, or there are medical reasons, or one of them is a bit sick, and the other person's like, it's okay, I'll be patient until the other person, or if something happens to one person, it's not possible to have that physical relationship anymore or something, but they're like, it's okay, we love each other and everything. That's a different thing. That's not ila. Ila is a particular practice in which a husband would say to his wife that I'm not going to be intimate with you. I'm very angry with you, and I swear by Allah that I'm not going to be that intimate with you. That is counted as ila. And if a person does not come back within 4 months, then it would automatically, some scholars say it would automatically count as one divorce. And during the idda of this divorce, the husband cannot take her back, because he already had 4 months now. So he cannot take her back or anything during the divorce. That after the divorce will be done, but it has been one divorce, and they can remarry if they want after that. Some other scholars, however, say that it is revocable. Like it does count as one divorce, and this is a fiqh opinion. And in fiqh, we know that there are different opinions, and depending on a different school of thoughts or whatever, different opinions are valid. And we can, in terms of fiqh especially, we should always consult someone knowledgeable who can guide us as to what is the best course of action. So the different opinions, and they're all valid in different situations. So some scholars say that it is revocable. A divorce will happen after these 4 months, but then in the time of iddah, they can by mutual consensus, they can revoke it. And another group of scholars say that after these 4 months are over, the woman can get divorced, but she'll need to contact the court of law and then get a divorce like that. It won't just automatically count as a divorce. She will need to do that. So there are different opinions regarding that, but regardless of whatever the opinions, the point here is that person has the difference of opinions, what will happen after 4 months, and how will this separation happen. If they have not reconciled in these 4 months, if the husband's not reconciled with the wife in 4 months, how will the separation happen? And there are different ways that different people will go about it. But The fact of the matter is, if they return in this period of time, because again, returning, and like Allah Ta'ala taught us in the previous ayat, that don't stop yourself from something good, and this is something good. A relationship between a husband and a wife is something good. It is something that creates harmony in the family. When a husband and a wife are loving to each other, then it creates a safe space for the children too. The children feel safer when the husband and wife get along. So even if sometimes the wife has to go an extra mile just to, or to suppress her own irritation, just to create peace, peaceful atmosphere, and listen to her husband's small demands or this and that, but that would, even if she does not want to do it, but there's no harm in doing them either. She's not doing any sin, but in normal day-to-day things, like instead of cooking this, you cook that, and if he wants things in this way, you do it his way rather than your own way, and things like that. If these little things create a little bit more peace in the house, a little bit more loving atmosphere in the house, then there is no harm in it. It's a good thing to do because it creates a peaceful atmosphere in the family. It makes the children feel more secure as well, and happy as well. So the thing is that there is a lot of goodness in this relationship, and then if some strain happens, then we should try to patch it up. And even if the strain happens to the point of that a person swears not to be with his wife, then he has that time period to come back. Okay, yes, your feelings are legitimate. Even a man's Islam is a balanced religion. It takes into consideration the obligations and responsibilities of both a man and a wife. So yes, a man might have legitimate reasons that the wife might have done something wrong. And then if something big has happened or something's happened and he might need time to cool off, then he's been given these 4 months that, okay, in that time. But then if they come back, and if they work on their marriage, if people work on their marriage and they come back, then indeed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is all forgiving. He is the most merciful. He is the one who puts puts love and care and mercy between us. And this relationship between a husband and a wife is something, a married woman is called a muhsinat, someone who is who is protected, who is like, marriage is encouraged in Islam, that the women, they should marry. Men and women should marry, and we should try to get young men and women married, and we should try our best to work on our marriages. And if something happens, we should try to patch it in different ways, and we should not use Allah Ta'ala's name to stop ourselves from any goodness. In fact, we should get inspired by Allah Ta'ala's names to do more goodness. We should get inspired by the words of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala to run towards goodness, and not the other way around. May Allah Ta'ala make us of those people who take care of our obligations, not just towards him, but also towards our other relationships, our like other people around us, our society, our community, our families. May Allah Ta'ala make us of those people whom he's pleased with and whom he takes care of. And just like Allah Ta'ala has united us in this world, may Allah Ta'ala reunite us as sisters in Islam on the day of judgment under the shade of his throne, where there'll be no shade except his, and once again in Jannatul Firdaus. May Allah Ta'ala make us of those people that he is pleased with, and who get to see him, who get to meet him, and who see the reward of every bit of patience that we have in this world with every relationship. May Allah Ta'ala forgive us, and any goodness that comes from today's talk is from Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. Any shortcomings are mine and mine alone, because I'm human and open to mistakes. May Allah Ta'ala forgive me, and may Allah Ta'ala accept from all of us. رَبَّنَا تَقَبَّلْ مِنَّا إِنَّكَ أَنْتَ السَّمِيعُ الْعَلِيمُ سبحانك اللهم أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك.